So now I had a boyfriend, and I felt very grown. I felt very grown up, and Matt was so interesting to me. I was, like I said, I was just wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Matt wrote this poetry that was just so deep, so beautiful, I thought. Like, he was just so talented, I thought. And we listened to nothing but 1960s music, which I shouldn't even know. I wasn't even born till 1976, but yet I know Janis Joplin, I know The Doors, I know CCR, I know Jimi Hendrix, I know all of that stuff. It's way before my time. But I got to know it all. In fact, I got to know it so good that one day I was reading Matt's poetry and I realized that, hey, these are lines out of The Doors. Or this is a line Jimi Hendrix said in one of his songs. And suddenly I realized that everything that Matt wrote was plagiarism. It wasn't coming from him. He was basically writing out lines from songs and adding a little bit here and there to it to make it sound poetic. He was just a big overgrown kid, is what I realized. And I didn't realize it till I was like a couple years down the road with him. So Matt sold weed down on Wreck Beach, and he taught me how to pick mushrooms, magic mushrooms, which we would go all the way on a bus out to Langley, Surrey area, and he knew certain pastures where they would grow, but you had to be there before the sun came up, because once the sun came up, the rings on the magic mushrooms weren't as visible, so you might pick the wrong mushroom. Anyways, he liked to check that we were picking the right mushrooms by like basically putting 3 in the bag and popping one in his mouth, which, I followed suit. And before you know it, we were absolutely fucked and taking a bus back from Langley with a garbage bag in our hands full of magic mushrooms, which we would dry out on screens and sell on Granville Street. And on Wreck Beach, we sold a lot of drugs. And also, Matt was a professional, he liked to call himself like the Wind. That was his little title, because he would crawl through the woods so silently on Wreck Beach, and then he would see other drug dealers stashing their big amounts of their drugs that they were selling, like weed, hash, acid even, and then he would, stealthily make his way down once they had left and steal it while they were back out on the beach selling a smaller amount of it. And so when they tried to come back to get their product, it was gone. Matt would also find and stumble across campers that thought that they were allowed to camp in the regional Pacific National Park there, the endowment lands, which you were not allowed to, and the GVRD, the Greater Vancouver Regional District, Parks Board, in other words, would find you camping and would tell you to go, and this wasn't allowed, but it was free camping. And I remember one day we came across an amazing setup with the most amazing equipment, Swiss mountain sleeping bags, a tent, top of the line equipment. And Matt and I cleaned it out. We cleaned it out. We basically survived by stealing. We would walk down alleys at night and go into people's carports if they had a freezer in there, and Matt would open it up and find meat, and he'd bring meat home. So Matt and I did end up getting a place together because it got really cold at the hacienda, and we actually rented a place together. And Matt drew pictures of rainbows, and I remember how when I went to a foster home for a short time, my foster sister had taken me out on the street for one night and showed me how she turned tricks, basically. How you'd lean into cars and smile at them, and if they went around a couple times, it usually meant that he was gonna want you to jump in the car and take you out, and he was a paying trick, or John. So and I was standing in front of a church, by the way, outside of our basement suite, waiting for Matt to come home because he had the key. And this car started to go around. So I told Matt about it when he got home, and he said, "Oh yeah, it sounds like the guy probably wanted you to, he probably wanted you to hop in." And I said, "Yeah, I thought about it, but I was scared." And Matt said, "Well, if you're ever scared, I can always watch out for you. Like, you could always bring them back to our place, and then I could, like, hide in the closet or something to make sure you're okay. Seemed like a great idea. Wow, thanks, babe. Now think about that. He just gave me permission to fuck some other guy for money in our bedroom while he sat in the closet and watched through the crack to make sure I was okay. Think about that.